It's from the year 2003. The Honda Pilot came out in 2003. It has that classic Honda steering wheel, and it reeks of thousands Honda in here. Radio taking center place, this weird, double screen thing. We're before the retro interiors, so, that's fun. And the Pilot is this third row SUV. Honda sees that the SUV craze is taking on, but Honda is extremely insightful, like a lot of Japanese car companies are. GM uses the point and shoot method of creating cars. They just say, point, crossover, shoot, Equinox, boom, Terrain, boom. That's just kind of how they make cars, right? Toyota and Honda anticipate for the future, and they make them a little bit earlier, right? So in 2003, the Honda Pilot didn't really make sense. Honda already had another SUV that we're going to talk about, and the only reason why it was introduced was for families, right? This wasn't designed to go off-roading, despite what some people are saying. It was designed to be a family SUV. Honda had seen the effects of the Lexus, the Lexus RX starting the SUV craze, and they've seen that effect that has had on SUVs, making them smaller and shrinking them. So, Honda, when they came out with the CR-V, wanted something bigger that families could ride around in. The minivan era was almost done, and Honda already knew that they were going to need a replacement for the minivan, so the Pilot was perfect. In the meantime, they would keep the first generation as this off-roader thingy to keep the fans excited. Well, later on, it would mature into what Honda would create is the family car, right? In 2014, it was a block of utility. It wasn't very high off the ground. The interior... So, the Honda Pilot is one of the only cars to not be affected by that Honda, retro wave that they had from, 2004 all the way up until 2015. It was not affected whatsoever, although it was ugly. It had this weird, chunky design. Now, keep in mind, this was a great and amazing vehicle, and I actually really liked it, but the interior is just hideous. I'm sorry. So many buttons in this small area, which makes this look weird just because it's so barren wasteland, and everything's made out of plastic. There's no leather, there's no texture, it's just shelf, steering wheel, and because this is so big and chunky, it makes the steering wheel look like nothing, and this just looks like an afterthought, this little cubby hole there. I mean, this was Honda's attempt, right, at maturing the Honda Pilot, right? So after you got the rugged, durable, off-road, cool one, right? The durable off-road one, Honda wanted to essentially make a family brick. A car that would have DVD players in the back, your kids could spill strawberry chocolate milk, kick the seats, This is what this car was designed for. It was rugged, but not in an off-roading type of way, but in if World War III started in the interior between both rows of seating, it would be able to withstand it, right? It also had plenty of creature comforts to keep the parents, excited, excited enough to drive their kids to school and not drive off a cliff. That was the entire point of the car. Oh, wow, that's not even a Honda. Wow. Whew. So, essentially, the Honda Pilot was this brick of utility, right? It was 2014. Well, it came out earlier, I believe 2008. And it was just this block, right? Everything was blocky. It was designed to look blocky because, like I said before in my previous videos, Honda's really good at matching exactly... Oh, by the way, there's the Steelies. Love to see the steel wheels. Honda's great at matching what the consumer wants with what the consumer needs. So they gave it high ground clearance, but not great approach angles because they knew all the buyers wanted was the number. All they wanted was the ground clearance number so that, oh yeah, that number's high enough. I can get my kids out of my driveway when it snows because I live in some place where humans should not inhabit. I'm, of course, making a joke. Midwest, calm down. So, essentially, the entire car is just perfectly meeting people in the middle. Edmunds always has the best shots. I don't know what it is. Thank you to Edmunds. So, essentially, they made it extremely blocky, right? That was intentional. It was blocky to make people think that it was off-roady. It had an extremely high ride height to make people think that it was off-roady. And it had terrible approach and decline angles because they knew this was a snow car. This isn't in, the Himalayan mountains, rocky areas driving. This is getting your kids to school in the snow, It was designed to just be what I actually like. I like the Honda Fit. Usually I like smaller versions, but this is a good example. Just a block. It's essentially just a cube. Cubes are always better. Cubes, you can fit more stuff in them just because there's not stuff at weird angles. It had a tow hitch. This was designed so that you could take your family to school in the winter. You could tow the boat down to Florida, you could tow the boat down to Florida, Miami Beach, when you wanted to go for a vacation, and you could drive Mima to the Dementia Nursing Home if you needed to. All while being sporty and yet unaware of its own weight. You know, like when you're driving this car, it doesn't really feel like it's very light to drive, but it also feels heavy. You know, that's what I'm saying. Honda's really good at matching what the consumer thinks they want with what they actually want, right? So it drives sporty, right? If there's a big engine in there, it feels like it has the power. I got the power. Okay, I'm gonna get demonetized. I don't even make money. You want? Screw YouTube. I'm joking. YouTube, I love you very much. Do not demonetize me from the money that I do not make. Anyway, so essentially, the entire point of the car, right, especially the driving experience, once you drive one of these, you're going to understand what I'm saying. It feels like it has enough power to go faster, but it also drives like an SUV. So it feels sporty enough to keep them interested, but it's also not sporty enough to feel like you're driving something substantial, right? Again, like I said, Honda, they know their consumers. They know exactly what they want, and they can make that like that, right? So the Honda Pilot seems to be just, originally started off as a great off-roader, right? Great approach and decline angles, family car, then turned into pure family car, less off-roading. You can do it if you want to, but it's really for snow, right? I mean, come on. So that utility family cube didn't work out because families, believe it or not, wanted something more what felt like substantial, right? So before Honda was trying to find an alternative to the minivan, right? This was trying to be more sporty than a minivan, right? More active, more like a true SUV, more like the CR-V, more high off the ground, more sporty, and, less like a minivan. This was trying to be more utilitarian than a minivan. Blocky, good approach, bad approach and decline angles just for good ground clearance. This just is a minivan. I mean, it's not a bad car, but the ground clearance kind of stinks for it being this big of an SUV. It's so that your kids can get in and out of it. I mean, it's weird that the reverse lights are down there, since, when you're reversing, it's obviously there's going to be someone behind you. You want them to see the reverse lights, but, I mean, I guess that's okay. Apparently, NHTSA doesn't care. It only cares about it when it's something good, like up, down headlights. Not really important. And it has these all weird red taillights, even though they have plenty of room to put a turn signal in there. It's just a minivan. I mean, that's the Odyssey. All it is just an Odyssey. I mean, look at it. I have no problem. I grew up in the first generation Odyssey. Very weird how it did not have sliding doors. But seriously, look at it. It's just an Odyssey. What they did, they took the Odyssey, they gave it a unichrome grille, extended the headlights above, raised it a little bit. There's your car, right? So essentially, imagine taking an Odyssey body and just slapping this black plastic crap on the bottom to make it look more, SUV-ish. That's it. That's all the changes they made. Now, it's not technically the same. It's still different, but come on. It's the same. You know it's the same. It has the same weird little gremlin face. That's just Honda, right? They went from their retro era, right? Like I said, from 2004 to 2015, and unfortunately affected all their cars. Even after 2015, remnants can be found, and that's a lot of screens for absolutely zero reason. Toyota, please. So chunky, so bulbous, so weird, right? The Pilot essentially turned into a minivan, right? Honda wasn't sporty anymore. It wasn't sporty, it wasn't fun. It was just, oh, we're not the normal family. We didn't buy a minivan. We bought a Pilot, which is essentially just a minivan. Now, the Pilot was cool in that it did show off some features that the Odyssey would have, like the gear shifter from the current Odyssey, the climate controls from the current Odyssey, a similar screen to the current Odyssey, and pretty much the same steering wheel as the current Odyssey. But that's all kind of boring. I am weird because I'm into boring cars, right? I'm not into Ferraris. I'm not into Porsches, even though I appreciate Porsche. I wouldn't buy one. I appreciate it from a distance. I'm like the consumer's car reviewer. I'm not looking for speed. I'm not looking for style. I'm looking for economical. It has something entertaining about it, at least something somewhat fun. This is purely practical, and I'm fine with that. That's not bad, but it turned into a minivan. That's what it is. Honda wanted a fun, sporty SUV, Because keep in mind, this is the circle. I'm going to do a video on this. The trapped circle that the car market is forever in, of cars getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until different cars are there to replace them. That's just what happens, right? Because people want things bigger and better, and when they make them bigger and bigger and better, by the time that new consumers come in that haven't demanded bigger and better come in, and they see this big, gigantic monster thing, they don't want that. They want something light. And then Honda has to create a new SUV to take the place. That's why the HR-V took over for the older CR-Vs. Now the Pilot looks like this. I mean, it just kind of looks like Land Cruiser. Now, I will say, the back of the Pilot, I really think that is very nice. The approach and decline angles, you can still see they're kind of bad. They're trying to lean more into off-roading, but it's not an off-roader at all, right? So, the Isuzu Rodeo is Honda. Oh, wait, no, sorry, got it wrong. The 1994 Honda Passport. That's right, yes. The Honda Passport was around 4 years before the Pilot was. Now, there's a lot of debate going around. So technically, the Pilot was the first Honda SUV. Well, not the first Honda SUV, but you know what I mean, of this class, of this caliber. It was kind of like the 4Runner. Think of it like that, right? This was the first Honda SUV in this category in the US, but a lot of people like to debate that, right? So this came out in 1994, I believe, 1994. And this one came out in 2003, so it's like really 9 years. I'm just going to call it 10 years. That just sounds better for the camera. So essentially, all this was a rebadged Isuzu Rodeo. I mean, everyone loved Isuzu. Isuzu had GM that was just hoeing them out to everybody, and unfortunately, Honda got some of that. So the question was, did Honda get the rebadge or not, right? Because it was a rebadged vehicle. Heavily rebadged vehicle. But still, do rebadges count, right? This started an entire different conversation about whether rebadges count as car models, because a lot of people argued, a lot more than you actually think. It seems like a small thing when you read up on it, but go to Reddit. A lot of them argued that the Pilot was actually the first Honda because it was the first one that they actually built. This was just Honda getting the Isuzu Rodeo to enter the US market. And these two cars were in there for very, very different reasons. This was in there to be the fun Honda SUV, right? They didn't know whether it was going to go small SUV or big SUV, so they did both just to be sure, right? Honda needed an SUV right now, so they shook Isuzu, said, give us a damn SUV. Isuzu complied. Here we are. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just okay. And this was just a very durable classic SUV, you know? Just an Isuzu Rodeo. Then, again, another Isuzu from 2002. Yay. Yep. It's a Honda Passport. Fun, you know, right? Isn't this so fun? Honda just taking Isuzus and rebadging them as their own. So, I would argue this one was better, but it was still expensive, and they still didn't really change all that much. And it was still weird, you know, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was still an Isuzu. It wasn't a true Honda model, you know. And by the way, just because, don't take this the wrong way, right? Like, I'm not gaslighting you. I'm actually telling you, do not take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that the Honda Pilot is bad off-roader. The Honda Pilot, damn it. See, it's infecting me. It's infecting me. The Honda Passport is a bad off-roader. It's an amazing off-roader. It's a good car. It's reliable. It's not a Honda. It's an Isuzu. Damn it, and I spoiled it again. I keep doing that with my tabs. So, yeah, it's just an Isuzu. The Isuzu Rodeo was all the things that the Pilot was. There was nothing special about the Pilot. It wasn't competitive at all. It was the same car. Like, I'm not taking this, like, literally, it was the exact same car. Every single thing that was unique about this Honda, oh, it's great at off-roading. Oh, it has a unique interior. All Isuzu. That's all. Everything interesting about this car was made by Isuzu. The only difference is the logo, and that's not very unique. So, remember how I said that Honda likes to bring things back? Remember the shrink, what I like to call the consumer effect, right? Consumers constantly demand bigger, better, faster, stronger, until the vehicles get so big that the consumer can't afford them anymore, and that the new consumers say, what the heck is this? This is way too big for us. And then, like, people like Honda essentially decided in 2019 that the Pilot, remember this Pilot? Yep. Yeah, they decided that this Pilot was getting too big, and that was officially into minivan territory, and that Honda wanted a fun, sporty off-roader. So they brought the Passport back. The Passport was never really a Honda. Honda just took the Pilot. Okay, keep in mind, this is Honda-level badge engineering. So they badge engineered their own vehicle. This is the same as a Honda Pilot. They chopped the end off, and they took away the third row, and that's it. It's not any more sporty. It's still a family car. The only reason why Honda ever brought back the Passport was just so that they could say that they brought back, you know, they didn't need it. They could just offer a smaller version of the Pilot if they needed it. The only reason why they brought this back wasn't because Honda, you know, the car company, cared or gave a damn. It was because consumers wanted something smaller than the Pilot without a third row that was more affordable. Bing, bang, boom, we got the Passport. Now, again, consumers are demanding bigger, better, stronger, faster, better, stronger, faster, stronger. You know what I mean? Just always more, until they get something that they don't like, they spit it out, and then they start the process over again with different people. You know what I mean? So, essentially, this car was fine. There was nothing really wrong with it. It was fine. They're still making it today. And the Honda Passport is unique, though, right? First of all, just something, I'm just throwing this out here. It is absolutely bonkers that the Pilot starts at $39 and the Passport is more expensive without a third row. How is the Passport somehow more expensive than the Pilot? Oh, this is making my head hurt so much. So the Passport is an amazing vehicle, and a lot of people say, oh, it's underrated. No, the Isuzu Rodeo is underrated. The Honda Pilot is just the Rodeo. Any single good point you can make about the original two Honda Pilots, the same can be made about the Isuzu Rodeo. The only thing different was the badge. Were those underrated? Yeah, of course they were. They were great, right? The Isuzus were great. The Honda is just an Isuzu. It's all Isuzu. Just admit that. It's not a Honda. It's an Isuzu. It's just badge engineering. Would you like Honda etched into your steering wheel or Isuzu? There's no difference. It doesn't matter. Yes, the car itself, the actual Isuzu car that was developed by Isuzu, that GM made them hoe out to everybody, was a fine off-roader. It was underrated. But the Honda wasn't special. You know what I mean? Like, the Honda wasn't any different. It was the same, right? So, now, the question is this thing overrated or not? Well, that's where it gets confusing. Like I said, the Honda Passport is the exact same as the Pilot. It's the exact same car. There's no difference, right? Now, I'm sure a lot of you were expecting some sort of hero story where I would be like, the Honda Passport was overshadowed by the Pilot. It's the same car. I mean, really, the Passport's just the smaller Pilot. That's it. Honda consumers wanted something smaller. Honda said, hey, eat this. They took away the third row. It's the same car. It is. I'm sorry. And somehow it's more expensive for an older model that hasn't been updated. It's very confusing. Now, you may be wondering, why would Honda leave in the same interior? Couldn't they change something? It's because they knew that they would be updating the Pilot by the time that the Passport was ever ready to reach market, especially by 2025. So, this Passport interior, Honda said, okay, it's good enough to pass off as a modern Honda. We'll update the screen. That's about it, right? Honda really didn't want to do a lot here just because they know that the consumer's just going to demand a bigger thing and then just go back to the Pilot. So they knew that the Pilot would be getting a new interior and that everyone would suddenly magically forget how they're both the same car. So Honda's supposedly going to be updating the Pilot, the Passport, hopefully, again soon. So that's pretty interesting. Actually, very interesting. Very interesting. Honda is going to make a new version of the Passport. Honda, why? You already shown that you don't care about the Passport. The only reason why you have the Passport is just to be a smaller Pilot. So why make a new version? Why not just discontinue it? The Honda Passport was designed to be durable, to be a good car. And right now, it's just a turd, because Honda didn't bring it back for good reasons. You can tell when a car company cares about something. They don't give jack about the Pilot. The Pilot's just there. I mean, the Passport's just there to be a smaller Pilot. That's all it is. That's why they kept the same interior. That's why they're so freaking lazy when designing and talking about this car and advertising for it. It's just the Pilot. That's all it is. Is the Passport underrated? Yes, I would say the Passport is a better Pilot. Well, you're taking away the third row. It's a better off-roader. If you have a family, get the Pilot. If you want to go off-roading, get the Passport. That's as simple as I can sum it up for you. That is essentially the only discernible difference I have been able to find. I mean, there's not really much more to say. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And again, usually I would make a point about Honda's soiling the Passport name, but the Passport was never a Passport. It was just an Isuzu. So they're not even soiling anything because it wasn't even their model. It wasn't even their car. It was just a cheap marketing term that they're bringing back to have. I will give them credit. Instead of just inventing a name like the Kicks or the Juke or something stupid like that, they brought back an old name with at least an extra generation of heritage. Congratulations, Honda. You're better than Nissan, which apparently you're partnering with now. Ugh. But as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And the Passport is just a Pilot. Just very, very, very weird. And if Honda wanted a smaller Passport, why wouldn't they just market the Odyssey more and market the... Ugh.